going insane. I need a podcast to fill my brain. Movies and Task, Reddit, Minute of Sports, betting $1 and Joel the Game, Quora and questions from real listeners, all that and more on Joel the Podcast. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast, Joel.
Oh, I feel like I messed that up. That didn't feel good.
Should we try it again, or is it too late?
No, I mean, it's definitely too late. I just have to understand that I've already...
You just have to cry yourself to sleep for 15 nights in a row now?
Absolutely. That's the proper response.
Well, if you want, since you're the editor, you can just sync up the Joels and everything else will be way off.
I mean, the thing is, that's how I normally sync up our audio. Is like I match up the Joels perfectly, and then I just kind of check to make sure that the rest seems okay. So,
well, the thing is, the rest of our intro has like a cadence, like I'm Alex and I'm Alex, so you can sync that up too, even though they're not at the same time.
Yeah, fair enough. And
excuse me.
Maybe it'll be obvious that the Joels aren't in sync, or maybe I can do some trickery. We'll see. Anyway,
welcome to episode 109 of Joel the Podcast, everyone.
Yep. It's
been like
exactly
I think
1
2
week
weeks since the last time we
episode.
Since the last episode.
Yep.
So if you're impatient, I don't know why. So yeah, we're here podcasting, and I don't really remember what else we say at this point. I guess we should do our sports minute now, right?
Yeah, I think pretty typical to jump right into the sports minute. I think the issue that I'm gonna have, and I don't know about you, but I honestly can't think of any sport event from the past week.
Okay, well, don't worry about that.
Okay.
I know of at least one, and we've spent 1 minute talking about one sporting event before many times, so...
All right, well, as long as you can carry us through, let's do it.
All right. Here we go. 1 minute begins. Okay, so yesterday was the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. I did not watch it because I was busy.
I also didn't watch it because I didn't know it was happening.
A close game. It was a close game. Okay, so I just checked in the last episode, but since then, March Madness happened. Wait, we don't want to talk about that. Let's see.
No, we need some better sports news.
The NBA Finals happened.
Yeah, how about those Nuggets?
The Lakers lost, but they made it pretty far. How about those Nuggets? How about them Nuggets? Yeah, we're definitely Nuggets fans now. Wow, I didn't think this would be this hard. Hold on, how much time we have left? So football season starts up in like a month or two, so that's pretty exciting. Oh, time's up. All right. Anyway, thank you for listening to our Sports Minute. I think now I need to ask if we have received any emails.
You know, we absolutely have. Let me...
That's so surprising, considering that it's only been a week since the last time we podcasted.
Yeah, let me pull these up, because these are some good ones. Wait a minute. The last email we received was on February 16th. That doesn't sound right.
I think that was close to our last episode.
Has it really been that long? When did we...
Our last episode was posted on... When was this posted? January 22nd.
Oh. Well, in that case, we've got 2 emails, probably.
I.e. 1 week ago, for the record.
So this is definitely one that we haven't read yet, because this is this email mentions episode 108. So here we go. This email is comes to us from Cephalopodmaster. Subject line is "I am a dumbass." Cephalopod says, "Hello, Alex and Alex at Joel the Podcast. This is David, and I tried to listen to episode 108 with David as we were driving. We were, however, unsuccessful, as even though it was being played at full volume, David complained the voices were too quiet to be audible, trademark, and we had to abort. It made me wonder..."
Audible trademark.
It made me wonder if this was a general problem experienced by all potential listeners who are only willing to listen to the podcast while driving. Of course, they are unable to communicate this issue to you because they cannot email you while driving. It's a good point. I think you should upload a separate copy of episodes... Oh, separate copies of episodes 1 through 108 with the volume slightly increased in the mixer and titled Car Edition or something. So I definitely have read this email before now, and I definitely misread it the first time. I thought he requested...
Right, you missed that it was separate.
So he's requested us to re-upload every single episode slightly louder.
Well, being the person who's not the editor would not have to do any work for this to happen, I'm strongly in favor of this.
Yeah, you know, if only I had read this correctly, I could have made some progress on this over the past week.
Yeah, because you're so diligent about doing that sort of thing, normally.
Yeah, I mean, this episode is for sure going to come out, like, tomorrow, so...
Right, and tomorrow we mean January 30th, seeing as January 22nd was 1 week ago.
There's one way to guarantee that this comes out on January 30th.
What is
All
it?
right, there's a bit more to this email.
Okay.
David says, also, having 2 sports minutes in a single episode was an interesting move. While I disagree with it, I think it could appeal to some demographic that are really into out-of-date sports news. I appreciated Alex's comment that the idea of doing an hour of sports minutes is more fun than actually doing it. And I agree that a Sports Minutes episode is in principle funny, but probably not in practice. Yeah, that's almost certainly true, right?
I think it's kind of remarkable how many ideas we have that are funny to say as an idea, but would not actually be funny to execute.
That's kind of I feel like that's a good thing and a bad thing as podcast hosts, because on one hand we get to just say them and get credit for them being funny. But
right.
On the other hand, the podcast then has another 59 minutes and 50 seconds of content to fill, so...
Right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think also a lot of those ideas come when we're trying to come up with ideas for what we should do for the podcast. So the listeners never even get to hear them. Like today, what was the one you said 10 minutes ago? Do you remember?
I already forget. I'll try and think of it while you keep
anyway.
talking.
So anyway, thank you for your email, Cephalopod. It's probably not going to happen, although I am interested in the fact that the podcast was too quiet for you to hear. Because we've never heard that complaint before. And I don't really know if there's anything that we can do about it. I guess I could hold my phone right up to my mouth like this.
That's going to sound great.
It's kind of funny because it sounds the same to us, but on the podcast it'll probably sound it'll probably be quite comical.
Be disgusting.
But I don't know if that would help, or it's not really practical for me to hold my phone up to my mouth for the entire hour. So, because I don't have the fancy microphone thing that you have there.
That's true. If only you had given David your address way back in the day.
I should have.
You may have received one, as I did.
I've traveled around enough since then that I don't know that if I would still have it, but...
Yeah, it could be tricky because, I'm always sitting at the exact same desk. I think since I've received this, it's been the exact same desk. And your situation is somewhat different. You could get a handheld mic. You could...
Well, I could just use my phone like that, right? Like this?
Yeah. Well, that's
talking right into the...
I guess, then...
How is that more inconvenient
Well,
than
okay,
a handheld mic?
less ergonomic, I think is what I'm trying to say.
I see. Anyway, did you think of the thing?
I still didn't think of the thing.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Anyway,
I actually do have a thing to share though that is slightly on the
Let's hear
topic
it.
of funny to say in principle.
Who even cares if it's on topic? Just say it.
Well, I think I want to give that context because it's still a thing that I want to do, even though it might be a
Right.
thing that's not that funny to do. So
Okay.
maybe you and or the listeners can give me some feedback on this idea and whether you'd be interested in it. So, over the past week, I've obviously been feeling like I'm in need of some creative outlet as we haven't been able to record a podcast in the past week, which isn't that atypical. But for some reason this time I was feeling like I could like I had some undirected creative energy, let's say. And during the past week, I was driving from Wisconsin to Michigan, and at the border between Wisconsin and Illinois, at the Wisconsin Welcome Center, at the Visitor Center along that highway, there
I-94.
is a 10-foot tall wooden Wisconsin-shaped sign that says "Wisconsin welcomes you." And I did some research into this sign because I found it interesting, and I found out that it's actually a local company in Madison that's produced these signs, and there are 23 of them around the edge of the state.
Interesting.
And
Ish.
for some reason, interesting-ish, right? And so for some reason, the idea has come to my mind that it would be really entertaining to, as a Wisconsin resident, drive from my home to each welcome sign in turn and turn that into some kind of production, some sort of content. It could be a podcast
Like a
along
vlog.
the drive. It could a vlog of sorts. And so the thing that stopped me from doing it is I feel like it can't just be like I drove to the sign and back 23 times. There needs to be some kind of second layer to the content to make it worthwhile.
You're very right about that, because after sign number 3, you'd be like, all right, I think I understand what's going on here. And these are all the same signs? All right, great.
Yeah, all the signs are identical. They would all be at just various similar-looking welcome centers. The drives would all be along interstate highways. It'd be
Yeah.
there's a little piece missing from this. So, definitely funny to talk about. Going to each Wisconsin welcome sign. Possibly funny to do with the right companion idea, which has not come to me yet.
I think that this is absolutely a wild idea. And not that the idea itself is that crazy, it's just you went from seeing this 10-foot tall wooden welcome sign to being like, I am somehow interested enough in this sign to research who made it, to finding out that there are 23, and then another leap, your conclusion from that was, I want to drive to all 23 of these signs, and then your conclusion was, I should record myself driving to all 23 of these signs. That's 3 leaps that I'm just I don't think that I would have made that leap, but
yeah, it's
so what? That's a very
fascinating
interesting idea.
How absurd it sounds when you say it back to me, but how brilliant it sounds in my head. So anyway, that could go somewhere.
The tragedy
that
of your
could be
genius.
A fun side project of mine. So appreciate the instant feedback there, and listeners, please do email us to let me know what you think of that one. Would you be interested in a spin-off podcast? Would you be interested in some other form of media?
A spin-off podcast of just Nathan ranking these rest stops with their welcome centers with their signs. Which, by the way, you would not be entering any of these welcome centers from outside of Wisconsin. So you'd be being welcomed to Wisconsin from, like, already being inside Wisconsin.
Yeah, like, so the idea was originally just, like, it came about, I can tell you where the idea of visiting them came about. It was because as we drove by, there was actually someone taking their picture with the sign.
Uh-huh.
So I did leave that out, I guess. It wasn't just like you saw the sign. The idea is that maybe
I don't think that
little...
seeing somebody take a picture with the sign is like, oh, I should visit all of them. Like, I still don't think that's like a logical jump.
Okay. Well, fair
anyway.
enough. But that was the, my thought was like, oh, that's funny. These people are, taking their picture with the Wisconsin sign. Wouldn't it be funny if I did that? And furthermore, wouldn't it be funny if I did that with all of them? And the idea kind of grew from there. So, anyway, email us your thoughts on that one. You can find our email if you visit our website, which is alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. Can you believe it's been 1 week since we've said that?
Only 7 days. Yeah, feels like it's been longer.
Yeah, I haven't been practicing or anything. That's just goes to show
you did a very good job.
Easy and memorable.
How easy and catchy it is. Exactly.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, did we get any other emails?
We did. We have one other email. Let's cover that.
We probably should get to it since we're at 16 minutes into the podcast right now and have not yet started the main podcast.
We're all good. So this email actually comes to us from Danielle, who we were talking about just before starting the recording of this episode. So Danielle says to us, "Sorry, after a little extra Googling, my top 10 soda resource was kind of bad. Here is a revised game to guess the top 10 sodas in the USA according to Newsweek in 2021, resource included at the end. If you're curious about how well you actually did last episode, based on this more accurate list, the final slide has tallied scores based on the answers that you gave last episode. Have fun." Excellent. Since last week, I've entirely forgotten everything about this.
Yeah, me too.
we could do it again with the new source, and we could compare not just our answers last time to the new source, but our answers last time to our theoretical future answers. So great.
I just want to say that's some A+ work right there by Danielle to like bring the old answers into the that saves us from having to do any work at all. So
for sure. I was thinking, like, before I got to that part of the email, I was thinking in my head, like, oh, so we could, like, check ourselves, but Danielle already did it, so just round of applause for Danielle there.
Just imagine, like, 50 more people clapping, everyone.
Yeah, I'm just
everyone
gonna,
who's
like,
listening is clapping.
For that instant of the podcast, I'm just gonna, like, do 10 of each of our audio tracks, slightly unsynced. And then I'm going to stop doing that now.
So are you saying that is all going to be, like, unsynced?
Yeah, it's going to sound disgusting. It'll be horrible.
Okay.
I'm really talking up my, like, editing of this episode.
Yeah, you're not going to do that at all. But I like the idea of, like, the snap being, like, this ending of that, because that would be really cool. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for emailing us, Danielle. And that's it, right? There's no other emails? All right.
That's it.
All right, so we move on to the actual main part of the podcast now, which today is advice. Excuse me. I've now burped 2 times on this podcast. It's pretty embarrassing. So, if you've listened to this podcast before, you know the drill. We receive advice emails asking for advice. All of them are entirely real, from real people. And we will give our advice on what people should do in these situations. And obviously we are experts in many different areas, so our advice carries a lot of weight.
Yep.
All right, do you want to read the first one? first
Yeah,
email?
let's jump right in. So this comes to us obviously from our listener Greg.
Hmm.
My cat keeps jumping onto my bed while I'm trying to sleep. It's cute, but it makes it hard for me to fall asleep. I would feel bad kicking him out of my room. What should I do about this?
All right. Well, first of all, this Greg is obviously incredibly sexist for assuming the cat is a boy cat. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it just says him.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that even possible? I thought all cats were girls.
I don't really know if that's true, and I don't feel like googling it right now. But it seems like true and could be true, right? So let's just assume it's true.
Yeah. Okay, so
All right.
yeah,
So
number one,
obviously,
bad
Greg is
job.
confirmed sexist for saying him out of my room because the cat is not
Right.
a boy.
Yeah,
Um,
and really makes me concerned about Greg's cat ownership skills here. If you're
yeah,
getting
I
that,
think we can all
basic
agree
fact wrong.
that the best solution to this is for Greg to give the cat to a shelter or another person who wants a cat. It's like a win-win, right? A, this cat is no longer going to be abused by being identified by the wrong pronouns, and also Greg won't have a cat jumping onto his bed while he's trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, yeah. Is that just the answer? Like right there? I mean, that
Well,
feels
okay, there is one possible thing that downside to this answer, which is he says that he would feel bad kicking the cat out of the room. So he might also feel bad giving the cat away. So do you have any
okay.
thoughts about
That's
that?
fair. Yeah, so I guess I don't know a lot about Greg's living situation, but it's possible that he has roommates or that he could acquire some roommates.
Okay, so
And this could be
what,
kind of like a
sorry,
what?
finish what you're saying, then I'll tell you what I was going to say.
Okay, so if Greg were to acquire some roommates, there could be kind of a soft handoff of sorts, like a in between just totally giving the cat away.
Hmm.
You can still interact with the cat. It's still a part of your life, but if you do kick it out of the room, um, and
And
even
by the way,
even if
kick we
you
mean with like your foot, right?
yeah, very very forcefully. As far as I know, there's no other way to communicate with cats. They only respect
Right.
power.
Hmm.
Um,
With a capital P. Go on.
yeah, it's actually recommended when kicking cats out of rooms that you scream the word power to really let them know who's boss in that situation, because actually now I'm getting totally off the rails here, but in the wild, cats, so like how they meow when they're like a pet cat.
I don't know that I've ever
But
heard that, but go on.
okay, well, in the wild, they're actually cats can say the word power, like just,
Really?
just as clearly enunciated as you or I can, and
That's amazing.
um, yeah, that's just the pack leaders will always whoever can shout the word power loudest is the the cat clan um, head. So, fun fact about cats.
Anyway, so as you're saying, if you kick the cat out of the room,
Yeah, yeah. So if you kick the cat out of the room, to get back to that, there's a place for it to go where where it more rightfully belongs. Like
right?
you weren't just tossing it out of its rightful spot. You were
It
um,
was an intruder.
it was yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a mistake for it to be there in the first place. There was a better spot for it to be. So,
So all that I was gonna say was you were talking about how you don't really know like what Greg's living situation is, and I was just gonna say that
yeah.
like my assumption would be, I mean, again, not knowing this, I was just assuming, but that he was living with no other people but with 18 dogs and one cat. I mean, I don't. It's not based on anything, but that would just be my assumption based on this question.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Um, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say that
I mean, he
in that
obviously has
situation.
at least 17 dogs, right? I was just adding
Well,
one
yeah,
just for safety. So
yeah, no, that's definitely a given. I just wanted to say then that, maybe we need to slightly revise our answer, given that we we really should have made that assumption from the start.
Right.
That roommates are probably out of the question here,
Unless you count dogs.
unless you count dogs. So
But
either
dogs
get
can't take care
some,
of cats, so.
yeah, get some additional dogs and figure out how to train them somehow. I don't know. That seems like a really long
Right.
shot. Or
Uh-huh. So,
yeah, or
let me ask you something. I don't know that much about dogs. Don't dogs eat cats? Isn't that like a thing?
yeah, if the cats are small enough. So I guess
So
the
this
size
cat must be a bigger
differential-
cat
Right, right.
to have
Or-
survived this long in a house of 18 dogs.
Yeah, it could also be that the dogs. I mean, maybe they're blind or something, because I have to imagine if they knew there were 18 of them, then it wouldn't. No matter how big this cat is, right? Like there would be
Right.
no problem, no contact.
Maybe it's like a lion.
Could be.
That would actually explain why he's so upset about it jumping on his bed.
Yeah, that would be a real challenge to fall asleep if you were continuously being like tackled by a lion. So, in
All right,
that
well, I think we
case,
come.
I would.
Go ahead.
If this, I mean, it's unlikely, but if we are talking about a lion here, I would just recommend some steel-toed shoes.
For the kicking, right?
Yep.
All right. Anyway, so I think we've covered a lot of different possible scenarios here. Hopefully one of them applies to you, Greg. If not, just email us back and tell us how many dogs really live with you. All right. Great. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it. What's next?
Next, we have an email from Greg. Different Greg. Same coincidence that they have the same name. Greg says,
Weird.
Thanksgiving is coming up, and I'm planning to go to my parents' house. The only problem is everyone in my family is a terrible cook. Like, nearly inedibly bad. Normally, I can choke it down, but in a holiday centered around food, it's almost unbearable. How can I survive the holiday without making my entire family feel bad?
One option, as this is probably stupid, but it's the first thing that comes to mind.
Uh-huh.
One option is to poison all of the food
Uh-huh.
to have an excuse not to eat it. But then it would look suspicious if you were, specifically not eating the food because you knew it was poisoned. I don't know. Maybe you can riff
It would look,
off
you're saying
that.
it would
Is
look
there-
suspicious because they would know that you poisoned it?
Yeah, like everyone else is eating the food and you're not eating the food, and they're not going to know that you poisoned it. So not only are they going to be offended that you're not eating the food, but they've all been poisoned.
So it sounds like you've come up with a solution that makes this problem significantly worse.
Or they're offended and then they die.
Well, yeah,
You don't have to
obviously
worry
they would
about
die
this
because you poisoned their
next year.
food. So he said. So okay. See, here's the problem with your. Okay. There's actually many problems with that answer. Number one, he still doesn't get to eat the food. Number two, his
Yeah.
family's still offended. And number three, he obviously cares about his family, right? Because he doesn't want to make them feel bad. And now his family's dead. He killed his family. So I think maybe we
This
want to
is-
like move in like a little bit of a different direction. Now, what if he just put
This is,
laxatives in all the food? Except his own.
That's a much cleaner solution, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been thrown off a little bit because this is two questions in a row where I kind of completely disregarded the question answer, potentially feeling bad about things. And now I'm asking some questions of myself, considering typing up an email on the side to
Right.
my favorite advice podcast. But anyway, the laxatives idea has some logic behind it. I'm liking
Really?
it.
I'm kind of surprised by that because I kind of just made it up. Can you elaborate?
Isn't that how every answer happens?
I
Somebody
guess
makes it up.
that's
and
that's
then-
true.
The rest of us just think, brilliant. Why wouldn't that be the answer?
Right.
For one,
go ahead.
it's also very disruptive to the holiday.
Uh-huh.
And for another, it would still look suspicious because presumably you're not going to eat the food with the laxatives in it. So yet again, you're not eating the food.
Right. So it sounds like it's actually also a terrible answer.
Yeah, I think I'm coming to that conclusion as well.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, maybe let's go in a different direction. What other drugs could you put in the food? Sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face.
What? One potential small adjustment, because presumably he's already purchased all of the drugs to lace the food with, right?
Right. He's obviously come to the conclusion that the only thing he can do is put some kind of drug in the food.
Right. So and here's the thing: not only do you not have to put those in the food,
but
I don't know that I have a second part to that sentence. You don't have to put those in the food. You just have to tell people that you put them in the food, because then you don't have to eat it. Also, they won't eat it, and you'll still actually have the drugs for next year where you can do the exact same thing.
Okay, but the problem is we didn't actually solve any of the problems, right? They would still feel bad. You still would get to eat the food. We still have all the same problems as before.
I can see why they wrote in on this one. This is
All right.
This is maybe one of the trickiest we've had.
Right. Why don't we come back to this one? I don't think we've ever done this before, but we'll go on to number 3 and then come back to number 2, with a different mindset.
Yeah, let's be clear that we're not admitting defeat here. We feel like we need to shift perspectives from some of these other questions maybe, and we'll come back. Okay, that sounds pretty reasonable. Let's talk. Yeah, here we go. This email comes to us from our listener Greg. Again, that's totally a coincidence. This is a separate person, I'm sure. Greg says, "Hi, Alex and Alex. I recently had to get rid of my indoor shoes, as I caught myself accidentally going out to the mailbox to get the newspaper while wearing them. And so obviously, since they've been outside, I had to throw them out. This means that my current outdoor shoes have become my new indoor shoes, and I'm looking for recommendations on new outdoor shoes. Please help."
Okay. Obviously this is an excellent question. Probably a common problem that I'm guessing a lot of listeners has, so I'm glad we're tackling it. Right, recommendation for new outdoor shoes because... So wait, let me ask you something. This is probably really stupid. But wouldn't he not be able to use his current outdoor shoes as indoor shoes because they've also been outside? I mean, obviously there's probably some obvious answer to this that I'm not seeing.
No, yeah. So what I'm imagining as someone who doesn't personally have indoor and outdoor shoes, but I appreciate the philosophy. It's really, I find it very intriguing, but not compelling enough that I do it myself. Anyway, what they say in these situations is all is forgotten once you pass through the door frame, and what they mean is... And
you're saying that's a common expression that everyone has heard?
Yeah, no, everyone in the indoor...
Right, obviously I've also heard it. I was just checking.
Sure, yeah. And so, in this case, what I've come to understand is that the outdoor shoes, once they pass through the door, are indoor shoes. Because they're shoes indoors.
Okay, so, again, this is probably just a very stupid question, but what is stopping him from using his previous indoor shoes, if that's the definition?
Yeah, so you can't... The thing is, with these things, the thing is when you take the shoe...
Sorry, what's the thing?
The thing is when you take the shoe from inside, the inside shoe, to the outside, is the thing that it can't be an inside shoe anymore.
Okay, you
'cause
know
it's
what? That
been
makes perfect
outside.
sense. I totally understand now.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Okay.
there's some like philosophy behind that, right? But I don't think we need to really
Yeah.
delve
I
too
mean, this is
deeply.
not a
It should
philosophy
be
podcast, so yeah, we don't need to get
for
into
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, I'm with you with the problem now. So now
Yeah.
we need to know what are some good new outdoor shoes. Well, for me personally, I don't wear shoes outside. I only wear shoes inside. So I can't really
Mhm.
speak from personal experience. Um, Maybe tissue boxes, like with no tissues in them, they might work. Depends on how big your
Yeah,
feet are.
that's pretty solid. I think yeah, if you can fit in there, I would say that's good. I've also seen some people just put on a second pair of socks.
Uh huh. Interesting. Are they like different in any way,
Yeah.
like more rugged, or they're just normal socks?
No, they're just I usually they're a different color maybe so that you're not confused when
Right.
you try to
You
take them
wouldn't look
off,
that
but
right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, imagine like, going to some fancy business event and trying to take your shoes off only to take your socks off also, like
That
that
would
would
be
be
mortifying.
yeah. So
So let me ask.
I've seen it done. It seems a little silly to me, but you
So let me
know.
ask you something. You said you wear. You said you don't have indoor and outdoor shoes. To me, that was implying that you have shoes that you wear both indoors and outdoors. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I actually have a single pair of shoes, and I just wear them everywhere. Like whenever I want to wear
Okay. Right.
shoes, I just put on that pair of shoes.
Uh-huh. And how often do you want to wear shoes? Like once a year, or
Yeah, I would most years, we'll say most years.
most years? Like okay.
Yeah.
Now, so would you recommend the shoes that you have to be used as outdoor shoes? I mean,
I
obviously you wear them outside.
it's a little tricky. I let's say I would recommend them. Um, yeah.
Okay. It's a little bit complicated. Yes. All right. Great. And what shoes do you have?
Yeah, it's actually one cardboard box that I just put both of my feet in.
Wow, that's. And how do you walk? Just out of curiosity, do you just hop?
It's partially hops if I need to move quickly, but partially it's so. Usually, I would say I kind of just like shuffle along. It's a little difficult to do that though, because the box I actually got um, from a shoe store. It's a Nike shoe box,
Right.
and so it's roughly the size of both of my feet because at some point it had somebody's indoor shoes in them.
Right.
Um, so yeah, hopping is definitely like that. May be the more beginner friendly technique. Shuffling is a little slow, but technically either way works.
Right. And okay, just out of curiosity, when you got the box, did it have
Yeah.
shoes in it at that time?
It had one shoe in it. The other shoe was on the top of the shelf, and that was the shoe
Right.
actually that had the price tag on it. So I could just take
Uh-huh.
the box with the other shoe.
The other one was free.
Right, the one for sale was the one on display. Um, yeah.
Okay,
So
that's a good life hack to know. I didn't know that.
yeah, interesting. So if you are an indoor shoe kind of person, and it can be a little bit tough to find two free shoes of the same size because usually the ones they put out are different styles. Maybe you're okay with having different styles, but I usually like my shoes to look at least somewhat similar. And often they're displaying lots of different sizes. So I don't know that I really have an answer there. I just wanted to point out that it's difficult because sometimes you just need affirmation of life's problems.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think that was pretty solid. Let's go on.
My phone is overheating. All right.
What? It's
All
not
right,
doing
here we
anything,
go.
right?
Number
It's just
4.
recording audio?
What?
It's just recording audio, or is it doing something else?
Yes, it's recording audio. It was my phone. My audio recording app also automatically transcribes everything I say.
Oh.
And it says live transcription turned off because it's too hot. So I'm guessing maybe that was too much processing or something. I don't know.
Yikes! It can't handle this wisdom.
Yes. So
what's next?
Let's move on to number 4. Now, if you've been paying attention, you can probably guess who this, the name of the listener who sent this in. It's Deborah. Deborah says, every night I wake up at exactly 2:37 a.m. and can't fall back asleep for the next 16.22 minutes. I've tried everything, including drugs, moving to a new time zone, and tying myself up inside a sleeping bag. No matter what I try, I'm awake at 2:37. This is especially unpleasant for me, and I'm looking for any new ideas you have to stay asleep. Now, before we get into this, reading that she tried drugs reminded me that we should go back to number 2 before we answer this one.
Right, that's a good point. And I feel like we had hit the drugs angle so many times, but this idea of tying yourself up inside a sleeping bag is really intriguing to me, especially in the context
in terms of the food one?
Yeah. So imagine if you tied up all of the food inside a sleeping bag so that it didn't taste like, bad cooking. It tasted like sleeping bags.
Right. I've actually never eaten a sleeping bag before, but I can't
Really?
imagine it tastes that bad, right? Can't taste worse than the food.
Yeah, probably not. So, in fact, I mean, you could just tell your family that you've gone on a sleeping bag diet or something of that nature, and just eat a sleeping bag.
And then
instead.
that would be your excuse, right? You wouldn't have to tell them that it's because the food is terrible.
Right. You say like, I'm trying to watch
help
my
the
figure.
environment.
I'm trying to help the environment. I'm trying to stop the
human trafficking.
the rampant overpopulation of sleeping bags. So I'm just gonna eat this sleeping bag. I would recommend the lightweight summer sleeping bags over the kind of heavy duty down ones.
Yeah, you can generally get those at a discount since it's November.
Right. Right.
Okay. Let's move. I think we nailed number 2, so we can go on to number 4.
Great, perfect. So
Deborah is waking up at exactly 2:37 a.m. Can't fall back asleep for 16.22 minutes. So what's interesting to me about this one is, staying awake for 16 minutes every night is like maybe annoying, but it's not like such a big problem that I would consider moving to a new time zone. Or tying myself up inside of a sleeping bag.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just me. I don't know.
As you were reading
feel
this,
the same way.
I was thinking. My initial thought was moving to a new time zone. It may seem like a little bit overkill, but I'm really surprised to hear that didn't work in this situation. So,
why? Just out of curiosity, why did you think that would work?
Well, because 2:37 is not the same moment in different time zones. So maybe Deborah would start waking up at 3:37 or 1:37 as opposed to
right. Okay, so clearly it's not related to the actual time.
Right.
It's related to the time that Deborah is experiencing.
Right. It seems like a very psychological issue, which is luckily our field of specialty. So.
Right. We are psychologists, as everyone knows.
Yep.
Although, if you're interested in suing us, we're actually not psychologists. But for all other purposes, we are.
Let's make this very clear. We're not licensed medical professionals. We're also not lawyers. But we do know everything about medicine and law, so you can definitely trust what we have to say.
Right.
Just not in a legal liability kind of way, if you know what I mean.
Right. Right. You can trust it in terms of you should do it, but not trust it in terms of, like, if it doesn't work, you shouldn't sue us, right? That's obviously your own fault.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into this.
Yeah.
Let's get into this question. So, I mean, I guess my first thought would be to close your eyes. I don't know
Yeah.
if Deborah's actually doing that, but that's usually how I fall asleep.
Yeah, that does seem, because if your eyes are closed, how would you know that it's 2:37 and it's time to wake up? Right? Like,
Right.
you don't just know what time it is. Like, I don't know what time
Wait,
it is
so-
right now.
So, like, wait, to be clear, like, are you saying that she's asleep with her eyes open until 2:37? Or
Yeah,
that
and
she's
then-
not asleep until 2:37?
No, like asleep with her eyes open until 2:37. Then she sees that it's 2:37 and wakes up.
Right.
But if she had her eyes closed, she'd have no way of knowing that it's 2:37.
Right.
So she wouldn't wake up, right?
Yes. That's a good point. Yeah. So that's one. So you could try that. So let's imagine that doesn't work. What would be like the backup option?
Yeah. The backup option to me is I would have to assume if that's not the solution, that there's some kind of like confounding variable here. Like it's not eyes looking directly at a clock that's at 2:37. It's maybe that something else is happening at 2:37 exactly. Like maybe there's an
Right.
alarm set. Maybe there's someone else, looking at the clock at 2:37 and maybe cheering that it's 2:37.
Remember in SpongeBob when it's the night shift and they're like, who would want a Krabby Patty at 3 a.m.? And Patrick's alarm goes, oh boy, 3 a.m. Anyway.
3 a.m.
Oh boy, 2:37 a.m. Anyway, yeah, so I was just thinking, like you would want to consider environmental factors like, is someone
Yeah.
setting off an air horn right next to your ear at 2:37 a.m.? If so, maybe consider trying to prevent them from doing that. That might help.
Yeah, maybe tie them up in a sleeping bag instead
Right.
of yourself.
Cool. Yeah, or call the police if you don't know who they are.
Right.
Okay, I think those are the only two possibilities, so one of those two should work.
Sure.
Should we go into the next one, or you want to get into this one a little more?
No, I feel pretty good about that. I'd be if somehow we didn't cover it in its entirety. Feel free to write back into us, but I've gotta believe that we did it there. So here we go. Next up, this email comes to us from Greg. Greg writes to us, "Hi Alex and Alex. The same man has walked past my house 14 times in the last 30 seconds. He looks friendly, but in a scary way. Am I in danger? Please help." What are your initial thoughts about this?
I'm really happy that this person, by the way, did this person have a name?
The person walking by or the person that wrote in?
No, the person sending the email.
That was Greg. The person walking
Greg,
by
okay.
may or may not be named Greg. I guess
Right,
that's
no,
not
I
clear.
just wanted to refer to Greg with the proper name, and I didn't
Gotcha.
remember if you said it.
Yep.
So yes, so I'm very happy that Greg included the exact number of times that the person has walked past the house
Mhm.
as 14, because that's actually like the key piece of information that lets us identify who it is, right?
Yeah.
Because the
So
different
the-
people.
Bef-
Go ahead.
As before, you may actually be going down a different branch. So, let me let you finish. Then we'll do my thing. It'll go poorly
Right.
because I think you're talking about something else. But whatever.
All right, so the different people walk past like at different frequencies, right? Like if you were dealing
Sure.
with, crap, I forget his name. His name is I'm like Ben Schwartz. His name is Mirnik. If you're dealing with Mirnik, right? He
Yeah.
walks past 17 times every 30 seconds.
Right.
So the fact that it's 14 tells us exactly who it is, and it's Lart. One of those two. I forget how it's pronounced. but-
Lart?
No. It's one of those two pronunciations. I can't remember if it's Lard or Lart. It's like Lar, and it's like you got that little squiggly D thing. Yeah, I don't know how that's pronounced. So, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. I don't know why I'm saying that. Yeah, so it's that guy. and checks out. He looks friendly in a scary way. I mean, I've seen him. Definitely an apt description.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, so I was thinking, I didn't even think of the identification. That's probably way more relevant. I was thinking that the number of times if you know if they're walking by more than some number of times, then it is threatening, of course.
Right.
Only if you don't know the identity. So what I was thinking was we could at the same time say the proper number of times someone should be walking by,
Right.
just to show that this was the way it was. But I don't know, maybe that's ridiculous.
Well, if it's probably worth saying, like, obviously, this person, we know who it is, but someone else might experience a different situation where it would be helpful for them to know what the proper number of times is for it to be threatening. So why don't we do that anyway?
Okay, so yeah, not directly related to this question, but more of kind of like a public service announcement, just to
Right,
to
like,
get this out
you should
there.
know
So
this. All right.
you should
So we're
for
set
sure.
on 3. We're gonna say the number of times where if you walk past that many times in 30 seconds, it's threatening. Is that right?
Yep.
All right. 1, 2, 3. 49.
31.
Okay. Are you gonna edit that to be the same?
For sure.
Okay, great. All right. So
Let's
you have to edit.
let's real quick say a few different numbers so that I can edit it to like work better.
Right. All right. 41,
6,
93,
18,
77.1.
406.
Okay, that should be enough, right?
Yeah, I'll work with that.
All right. Anyway, okay, so we know that this is. Do you know how it's pronounced? Lard or larp?
Oh, I thought it was lard or lart.
Lard or lart? Yeah. Do you know how it's pronounced?
Maybe it is LARP. No, I have no
Let me
idea
just
to answer
Let me
the
just
question.
Google it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, this says that you're not supposed to say his name, so I'm not going to say it anymore.
So we formally apologize to anyone we may have offended by saying this name.
Yeah, so anyway, this guy, no, he's not dangerous. Unless you say his name. So,
Yeah.
excuse me 1 minute. No. That was a joke. Obviously, he's not dangerous. So, I don't know where I'm going. Say something now. Say something else.
I need to interrupt. I actually just noticed that there is an additional note here. So it's after asking, "Am I in danger? Please help." There is an addendum, which is that he has a goatee.
And you didn't bring that up in the beginning.
Well, I didn't see it right away.
That literally changes the whole question. I think.
Yeah.
If he had,
Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead. I mean,
No,
I've never heard of
just-
a person with a goatee that's not dangerous.
Yeah.
I think we should
end
move
of
on to
answer.
the next
Yeah.
question. The answer is yes. All right. The next question comes to us. Oh, this is a new guy we haven't received an email before. This is from Greg. It says,
Oh, nice.
"Dear Alex and Alex, I've fallen and I can't get up. Every time I try to do so, I black out and wake up on the ground again. I'm typing this email from the ground on my phone. I need to live my life. How do I stand up?" with 3 question marks.
Wow. This is I can feel the desperation here. This is a serious situation.
Yeah, I mean, 1 question mark, you're like, normal question. 2
Yeah.
question marks, you're like, all right, drama queen over here. But 3 question marks, this is serious business.
This is for real. We know. That we're usually kind of lighthearted and fun on this podcast, but just a content warning here. This would make it a little bit heavy.
Yeah, and we know how to be serious when it's time to be serious.
For sure. Very, very serious. but not to the point of being held liable for any of our words.
Right. Obviously, you shouldn't take anything we say seriously in a legal sense.
Right. But other than a legal sense, in every other sense, this is very serious.
Right.
I don't. My first question to Greg, was that his name? Is that a real name?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, new. I think it's just what it says here in the email.
Weird. Anyway,
Can't imagine why he would lie about it.
Yeah. Well, so my question then to Greg is like, do you feel hungry or thirsty? Maybe. Like, could that be the problem?
Right, like you're saying, like he hasn't had enough to eat, so he keeps fainting when he gets up.
Yeah, like usually when I don't eat for a day or two, I also have this problem until I eat something.
Right, and so let me ask you something. How do you eat something when you can't get up?
So usually I just wait until somebody notices me and brings me some food.
Right.
Or, if I'm on my own or something and I can't get anybody's attention to just like bring me the things that I need, sometimes I'll just start to yell really loud. Usually that works.
So essentially you're just like a baby. Like if you need food, you just like cry until someone hears you and brings you food.
Yeah. So that has served me pretty well. I think there is some risk that
I mean, it works for every baby, so
literally every baby has made this strategy work. So I figured, why not me? And for the past 20 or so years, it's been going pretty well. So why stop now?
Good. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's interesting. So, has it ever happened to you that like no one's around, so even when you like yell, no one hears you, or that's never happened?
Not really. I can't think of any instances like that. Like maybe if that has happened, I just like blacked out even harder until somebody was around.
Like your blackout overflowed into just being normal again.
Eventually, I'm so tired and desperate that I'm just fine again because it was so
and
exhausting.
You get up and
to
eat
be,
something.
Yeah, just.
I'm too tired to faint.
At that point, you just like stand up, get some crackers or whatever. Like I'm not a gourmet chef or anything, but you do what you need to do. Unless somebody does it for you when you yell, which usually happens in my experience.
Right, most of the time. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty well covered. I would say just from my side, on the off chance that this is something else, like they're not, it's not that they're hungry or thirsty. It's possible that there's an invisible person punching you every time you try to stand up and knocking you out. So if that's the case, I would recommend apologizing to the person, which you obviously can't see the person, just kind of apologize to the general room.
Yeah. Do you think it could be a ghost?
Well, obviously ghosts can't punch you, so it's probably more like a ghoul.
So it's just a... Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if it was a ghost, you would get up and you would like feel a little chilly, I think is probably what you would be experiencing.
No, you're right.
Which
you're
is
right.
annoying, but you can live with that.
Right.
Cool. I guess that's all our advice emails for the day. If you are wanting to follow up on any of these, or if you have your own piece of advice you want to ask, send us an email. Nathan already mentioned the website earlier on in the episode. But yeah. Anything else?
Do we just like end? I feel like there's stuff.
There was a time where we did like an Olive Garden quote.
Oh, didn't David request that we do more Olive Garden quotes? You know what? Here's the Olive Garden quote for this episode. Wisconsin welcomes you here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
Here in the middle of this Olive Garden. This Olive Garden is built on the border between Wisconsin and another state. Good quote.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it, everybody. Thank you all for listening. Send us an email, tweet at us, Facebook. We're not on any of these things, but I'm sure someone will see
You
it.
could do it. And if you did, some other people might get interested and start doing it too. And then that'd be pretty funny.
Send us a carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been
Joel.